Welcome to episode 28 of Lost in Translation. As always, coming to you from the WCTV studios in Wilmington, Massachusetts, with the man, the myth, the legend, Bobby Martin. Bobby, good to have you this morning.
Great to be back in studio, episode 28. Love it.
We're doing a good job of getting these going. Today, we are joined by just absolutely incredible videographer, is extremely well known now to the Wilmington community after, less than, maybe 6 months it's been filming here. But you go to Wilmington High School games and you talk to the teams, everybody knows Brando because he's incredible. Very well known across Massachusetts high school and college scene, New England high school and college scene. He is... we had Bobby Media in here, who I was like, Bobby Media is, I think, the best videographer in New England. But honestly, after watching Brando's work, I would say that it is, I couldn't tell you who's better between the two of them out of videographers. Brando's just an incredible videographer. Brando, thank you for being here today.
Thank you guys for having me.
Appreciate you being here.
It's my first podcast. Hopefully I don't choke up.
So, incredible videographer and incredible talent, also incredible story. Brando's out there. He's working with one arm, and he freehands stuff. It's not just on a tripod. And that's not like, there are plenty of times when using a tripod is the thing to do, and it is. I use tripods plenty. It gives you stability. It gives you 3 points of contact. So it's not like, using a tripod. Like, no, it's what you do. But, like, there are times when you want to freehand stuff. Brando freehand stuff. He's doing it with one arm, which is insane. Just, Brando, what would you say about how you got into videography? And it's an art. How'd you get into it?
Well, first I want to say Bobby Media. Shout out Bobby Media. I love that guy. Definitely a crazy, great videographer. I remember seeing him from when he started to where he is now, just an amazing guy. I definitely started like in maybe high school, junior year. I was like really into like YouTube videos. Like I was into like travel vlogs, stuff like that. Like I remember watching like a bunch of travel vlogs, Sam Colder, all those like, if I don't know, but I just watched a lot of travel vlogs. I was really inspired. I remember junior year, I like begged my parents for a camera. Like I picked up like a DSLR. I just was like, please give me a camera. Like I remember asking my dad, asking my mom, like please give me a camera. Luckily they did. And then I think like towards the middle of like junior year, I just started making vlogs with my friends, like something silly. They're still on YouTube if you want to watch them. They're like so cringe, but I remember just making stuff with my friends, just having a good time, just filming my day, doing whatever, playing soccer, all that, like just capturing it all. And then going into senior year, like I really liked what I was doing with my camera. Like I loved filming, I loved editing, and I remember quitting the soccer team because during high school I played soccer like all my life, and I quit senior year. I became like my school's videographer. A lot of my friends were on the football team, so they asked me to come take photos. I eventually did that, and then eventually I just started going to every high school game you could imagine. Like I was on the sideline. I remember staying after school editing. Like my digital media teacher, he eventually gave me a kind of like a work study period. I don't think anybody had that. I just had a period where I just got to edit videos for the school. Like that's all I did, and it was pretty sick. I don't know. Hopefully that summed it up.
So, I mean, I still get uncomfortable asking you about it, even though you've been like, it's totally fine. But what are the challenges of being a videographer and working with one arm, and you don't have full fingers on that arm too? Like, how difficult, how much harder was it for you? Because you're incredible, and that's the thing. Is like it's not like I hesitate to bring it up because then I almost feel like it's going to be like, oh well, we're going to grade him on a curve. Like he's a great videographer because for a film with one arm. I said no. Like you look at his work, you're a better videographer than me. I've been doing it for a long time. I'm not a bad videographer. You're significantly better. Like you are. If I was to go out there and just say who is the best videographer, I don't know who I would say between you or Bobby Media, but it'd be you two and then everybody else that's in the area. Like you're an incredible videographer, period. but to be that good and to only have one arm and only have partial fingers, like how much harder and how hard was it when you got started? And was there ever a point where you were like, man, because when you start getting into sports, you want to use longer lenses. You want to like sensitive cinema cams. Longer lenses are heavy. Like my arms, I'm a big dude.
Right.
And like I'm not Bobby big, but for a short dude, I'm very solid, and I can lift some decent amount of weight still, despite being old and fat. And my arms get tired, man, when I'm freehanding stuff, and I'm using two arms. Like, how hard is that and how hard was it to learn, and how hard is it to be out there?
Right. So, I'll just, like, my accident when it happened, it was, like, really young. I was, like, 7 months old. I was, like, really young. I was a baby. I'm not even from America. I was born in Guatemala, and my accident was really, like I said, I was really young. I was, like, a baby. I had one arm my entire life. I've been in this condition my entire life. So when you're kind of like this for your entire life, you kind of are used to what you have and what you are like kind of like what you have, you know? So having one arm and doing all that, like I kind of got used to everything with one arm, you know, like picking up a camera, like doing all that. Like I kind of had to not necessarily figure it out. I just did it with one arm, if that makes any sense. You know, like, you know how when you ride a bike, you like you are already naturally like putting two hands on the steering wheel, all that. Like I just naturally just did it with one arm. You know, like if I had this accident maybe at 18 or 19, older, maybe it would have been different. And like, you know, I had difficult time to adapt. But because of me having this accident at a really young age and kind of just being like this, like just getting accustomed to the situation I'm in, I kind of just did it naturally, if that makes any sense. And then the videography part, like, thankfully, like, a lot of the newer gear, like the 70-200, like the version 2, really light lens. It's lighter than the older 70-200 from Sony, really light. Even the mirrorless cameras, they're really light. A lot of them light equipment. Obviously, there are lenses like a 400 millimeter where it's like 4 or 5 pounds, and those are a lot heavier. But I never really kind of like dabbled into those. Like I never really touched any of those. I kind of just work what I have and kind of, you know, do what I can. You know, like I don't really need a crazy 400 millimeter lens. I don't really need any of that unless it's like necessary. You know, like I kind of just like to work what I have and, you know, see what I can do.
You know, your story is absolutely amazing. You know, I've got a question. So, you know, you've been like this for, you know, since you were what, 7 years old?
7 months.
7 months old.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is 7 months. So this is really all you knew.
Yeah.
And how do you feel when you see others, quote unquote, blessed with so much and complaining? That, you know, because you've dealt with less for so long and you've made the best you can of it. What does that make you feel like? I mean, do you...
What, like people complaining about like their circumstances?
Right, exactly, the circumstances.
I mean, it's different for everybody. You know, luckily I've been in an environment where I get to think positively. You know, I think positively every day. You know, I get to wake up and I get to do this. You know, not many people get to do that. Mm-hmm. You know, unfortunately, people, their environments just aren't the same. You know, everybody's environments is different, and it leads them to think certain ways, you know. And so I hope the people that, you know, complain, you know, realize that they get to live the life they get to live. You know, there are people in much dire situations than me and who would love to have my life, you know. And the fact that I get to do what I do is a blessing, you know, and it's all thanks to God. And I don't know, I think people just need to think that, like, they get to do what they get to do, you know, like, it's beautiful, you know.
Do you feel like have there ever been, I forget you feel like you experience it, so you know whether it has or not.
Yeah.
Have there ever been times where, like, you're such a good videographer, people see your work,
right?
You would hope, people are always talking about, like, oh, we need to live in a meritocracy and blah, blah. Like, on merit, like you're just as good as there is out there.
Right.
Are there ever times when you get hired for a new job and people don't know you and you show up and you feel like maybe they're having doubts until they see your final
100%,
product?
100%. I think it's, I mean, a lot of people love to, judge by the cover. And once they see my work, they're like, dude, like, your work's unbelievable. And I kind of knew from, like, the beginning they were, like, kind of doubting a little bit. But I always tell myself, like, let the work speak for itself. Like, I know what I'm capable of. If I wasn't capable of doing it, I wouldn't do it. I kind of know what I can do and what I can't do. I also like to push myself sometimes and, kind of be creative in certain areas. But, I've definitely had those situations where people are like, ooh, like, who is this guy? And then they see my work. They're like, yo, I love your work. Like, I don't know. I think it's a cool experience. Like I said, I just let the work speak for itself,
What are you willing to talk about the accident itself and about?
You can ask whatever. I'm not, it happened so long ago that, like, this is who I am, that I can't change anything about it. I mean, obviously I had, I'll give you, if you want, I can give you a whole, like, short story about it.
Sure.
That'd be great.
Yeah. I'd love to hear and about that and then about the journey, because I know that you said you came here, you were young, your family basically came here, I think, because of the accident to get you the best possible care and just that whole journey and experience. And because you have just an amazing amount of, when you look at the stories, the things that people want to hear about, like overcoming such a horrible accident, the immigrant experience, being an independent businessman at such a you're a young dude. Like it's like each one of those is kind of a story. But let's start with the accident.
At any time, just feel free to cut me off, ask me a question, whatever. And I'll try to remember a lot from the story. I mean, it happened so long ago there. I might miss a few things here and there, but 7 months old, I was a baby, and I was born in Guatemala. Like I said, 7 months old, house fire. Crazy thing is I was the only one in the house, nobody else. It happened like a landline, lit the house on fire. Like I said, I was the only one there. I think one of my cousins went into the house, saved me. This is all what my mom told me. I don't remember a thing. Like I said, I was 7 months old. I believe when that accident happened, the left side of my arm was like badly, like severely burned, I think my mom told me, like, it could have had a chance to survive, but the doctors were just like, we have to cut it, whatever. I mean, cool, I was 7 months old. I really don't know.
You didn't have a choice.
Exactly. And then, obviously, the treatment in Guatemala, like, for burn injuries are not the best as what you can get in, like, America or in other countries. So my mom made a very hard decision to leave the country and come to America with me. And, I just have to give a huge shout out to my mom. I love my mom.
Shout out to moms.
Yeah, she's amazing for that. She sacrificed her, like, entire life back there to kind of just, like, have a better future for me, to just, put it all for me. And it's something that, I owe her everything for that. And I came to America really young. I think I was about maybe a year old at this point, maybe. I first came to Connecticut. I lived in I don't know what they're called, but, like, I think they're host families. I think that's what it is. I was with a host family in Connecticut. Crazy thing about this host family is they have conjoined twins. So I'm good friends with conjoined twins. Shout out to them too. And then after Connecticut, I came to Massachusetts. There was a host family in Winthrop, Massachusetts. That's where I went to high school, where I grew up for majority of my life. But the reason why I came to Massachusetts is because there is a hospital called Shriners Hospital that does a bunch of burn injuries, treats them all. Amazing hospital. They treated me since I was like a year old to like 18, because I think 21. Once you're 21, you can't get treated from them anymore. But they've treated me since I was really young to, almost 21. And, before the surgeries, I looked a lot different. But, now I'm here after a bunch of surgeries. I think I had over maybe like 100 surgeries. It was a lot of surgeries. I really don't know the number, but they tell me like over 100. So came to Winthrop. Was with that host family my entire life. I still talk to that host family. The host mother, she's like a grandmother to me. I call her all the time. She has two adopted sisters. They're like my older sisters. I love them very dearly. They're all here in Massachusetts, still living, having a good time. My grandmother, Mike Gray, and host grandmother, is out in Florida enjoying the weather when I'm in 20-degree weather out here. But that's kind of like the rundown of like the story. I might have missed some pieces here and there, but that's kind of like a general thing of kind of my life.
To me, it impacts me. The first time you told me like, oh, you were a baby, and it impacts me on such a deep level just to think about. I'm a worrier, man. Bobby knows me. Bobby's my essentially, big brother. But like, I worry about stuff happening to my kids all the time, and it's hard for me to keep it together just hearing your story. I can't imagine the impact it had on your mom.
Oh yeah.
What would you say about her throughout all of this? I mean, my guess is you were pretty young for most of the surgeries, but still, I mean, those things, they don't. It doesn't go away as a parent. I don't think. I think you always, as a parent, second guess yourself, think coulda, woulda, shoulda about a million different things. Like, I think that all the time now, just about my oldest son and the way that he changed during COVID, and I was talking with my wife the other day about, like, and she reels me in. My wife, by the way, is the reason I'm wearing a Henley instead of one of my graphic tees right now. She told me that I should wear a Henley on the show.
The wisdom of a woman.
She's the reason why I have the beard right now, because her and my son want me to have the beard. So
you look better.
I don't have much of a say.
It looks good. It suits you.
But she was reeling me in because I was really having all these, beating myself up about my son and the way that during COVID I felt like things changed and maybe he became more introverted and less brave to do things. But that's not, like, my fear is something terrible happening to my kids. So I can't imagine the impact of all this on your mom. Like, just what you said, that you were effusive in your praise of your mom. She sounded, to undertake immigrating to the U.S. is not easy.
Yeah.
My hat is off to anyone, one, dealing with the stigma, dealing with bigotry, but just also dealing with language barrier, man. Yeah. Like, I'm terrible at foreign languages. I wish I spoke another language. And learning English, my understanding is, it is so much less logical a language than basically every other language. So, like, I can't even imagine all that. But just, like, what would you say about your mom and how she's handled all of this?
I mean, my mom's amazing. I love her to death. I owe her my life. She basically sacrificed her entire life to be here. I don't have kids of my own, so I really can't say like how I would feel as a parent. But as a kid, I'm very thankful for her. As a son, I love her to death. She works 2 jobs. She does everything she can to support me. Obviously, as like parents, you're gonna clash with them. You're gonna butt heads, but at the end of the day, we love each other no matter what. And I'm just very thankful that she just wanted a better future for me, for her too. That's something I really can't pay her back for. Maybe one day when I'm big and rich, maybe I'll buy her a house. But for right now, all I can say is I love you and thank you for everything you've done. I do my best to tell her that.
That is, wow. That's such a strong statement about your mom. I think that moms hold us down.
Yeah.
I was raised by my grandmother, and there was nothing in the world that would have held her back from doing the best that she could, so I had a better life.
Exactly. I think parents just want the best for their kids. You know, at the end of the day, they just want them to be in better positions. And I feel like my mom, when she saw that, she knew that even though it might be difficult for her, she knew that in the long run, I would have a better life than if I were in Guatemala. You know, and that's something that I think every parent thinks of. You know, if they see a position where they can put their kids in better positions, they'll do it. You know.
Tell me about your mom's. What's her disposition? I feel like I know her, but I'd like you to share what's her disposition.
What do you mean disposition?
Is she strong? Is she strict?
Oh, she's always telling me to get things done. You know, I always need to get things done. And she's right. You know, sometimes I slack off here and there. And you know, my mom, like I said, my mom just wants the best for me. She just wants me to be better than what I was in Guatemala. You know, she wants me to work. She wants me to get the bills done. She wants me to help her out. You know, I try my best to do all that. You know, there's only so much I can do. But, you know, she's awesome. You know, even, you know, her English isn't the best, but she can speak it. She can understand it. She can. I talk to her in English. I talk to her in Spanish. You know, sometimes whenever she needs help writing a text message, I help her out. I kind of explain her the words. I tell her how to write it. You know, I love her because she does the best she can, and you know, I see that she tries the best that she can, and it's amazing. You know, she's an amazing mother, and I love her so much.
You know, this is just any adult watching this. You know, I think, Sam, what we do is, you know, we look at today's society, and parents are afraid to talk to their kids because they're afraid to lose their relationships with them. You know, they're afraid to be stern with their kids. They're afraid to tell them the truth.
Yeah.
And just listening to the story about your mom is the reason that you are here today.
Yeah.
And, you know, what that says is that, you know, as much as we want to believe that the children are our future, we've got to understand that, you know, our responsibility is to be there present.
Right.
You know, and if you're not willing to have those tough conversations with your kid, then they're probably going to get lost.
Yeah. I know when I when I was thinking about going to college, I didn't want to go to college. I wasn't a fan of college. I really didn't like it, but I remember me and my mom would butt heads all the time. She was like, "You need to be a doctor. You need to be an engineer. You need to do all this." And you know, back then I was like, I don't want to do any of that. But I growing up and realizing she just wants me to be in a better position.
Yeah.
You know, she just wants me to be successful at something. You know, and it wasn't until I really took off with videography, she finally understood. You know, and so, you know, being a parent's hard. You know, I don't have any kids, but you know, it's definitely a big position you got to fill. You know,
it really is very hard. I think it's awesome to hear someone that isn't yet a parent themselves, just and a younger person acknowledging that. Like, I didn't get it until I had it, and I beat myself every single day.
Yeah.
I think I'm doing things wrong, especially with my oldest. You know, he's 7 now. He's at the age where like, he just doesn't want to do anything. Like, he wants to go home. He wants to read. He wants to play with Legos, which is all great, but, like, I'd like him to be passionate about something. He loves learning. He wants to be a scientist or an engineer. And that's great, but, like, getting him, like, extracurricular activities, like, he always just wants to quit them afterwards. And it's hard to know that fine line between, like, I want to force someone and burn them out on something that, like, by forcing them to do it when they're not ready, but at the same time, you also don't want someone to not have that, like, you have to go through adversity and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. So speaking of adversity, I would assume that you have, you know, just as for anyone, no matter their circumstances, it's such a crazy world out there. You know, there are young videographers out there trying to do everywhere. You go to any sort of AAU tournament,
they're
high school
now.
Game, they really are everywhere. But, like, to make it, and you've gotten in with Tufts, you've gotten in with some other places, you've gotten in with, like, you're always working, you're always doing stuff. But how hard was it? How did you get from, okay, I want a camera in high school, this is what people have hobbies that they get into,
right,
to this is what I'm going to do as my profession, and I'm going to do it independently. Like, right. I'm going to do it on my own, not working for a bigger company. Obviously, if you were to go work for some other place, your pay per hour is going to go way down if you're working for someone else. But you're also not necessarily going to have to hustle as much to get work every week. There's a trade-off. You're making it on your own. You're an LLC. You're an independent business. But like, how do you get from that kid in high school that I want a camera to what you're doing now, and how hard was it to get there?
I mean, it's been a journey. I've been doing this for 4 or 5 years, and I know when I started out, I was just obsessed with it. I think what really separates people from who like made it, or I mean, I'm not saying I've made it. I'm far from making it. I'm still not where I want to be, but starting off, I was obsessed with what I was doing. I remember in high school classes, I would watch YouTube videos on lenses, color grading. I wanted to learn everything there is to cameras. I loved it. You can ask my friends, like I would talk about camera lenses all the time. I would talk about the different types of bodies. I would talk about like it was like a foreign language to me. And going out of high school, I didn't want a 9-to-5. I never really believed in 9-to-5s. I never really liked them. Having to work for somebody else, making their dreams possible, where you can make your own dreams possible. I never really liked that idea. And I just want to say I'm very lucky that I made it where I am today because of the people around me. Everybody's situation's different. Some people, to get where they want to be, they might have to sacrifice certain things. And for me, I had to sacrifice, not going to college. I had maybe some relationships that I had with people. They're like, hey, go to college, go do this, and I just, I butt heads with them because I told them that's not what I wanted to do. And I believed in myself, and that's really like the ultimate thing. As long as you can believe yourself and that you can do it, you can do it. There's no one else going to stop you but yourself. At the end of the day, it's your world. I wake up every day and I believe that I can do it. And I can do it. And so going out of high school, I went to college for a year, even though I said I didn't. I did go to college for a year. Some of my family host family kind of pushed me to just try it out, and I was like, sure, whatever. I went to NEC, New England College, up in New Hampshire, majored in photography. It was in the art campus. Wasn't really a fan of it. I made a good few friends. I'm not hating on the people there. They're very good people. It wasn't for me. I never really didn't like the idea of it. And so.
Oh, it's hard because you don't want. I think most of the kids, when you mention it, well, do you want to be a doctor? Your mom says, should you be a doctor? Should you be a lawyer? Well, I mean, I think that most of our kids now, they fill their heads with other people's ideas. Yeah. And it sounds like you just,
even during college, like I would come back home to my hometown and I would film games for them. On the weekends, I would get bus tickets back home and I would go film games. Like I was obsessed with it even while I was in college. And, for some people, COVID was a bad thing. For other people, it was a good thing. And for me, it was a good thing, because that's when I left college. Once COVID hit, I was like, it's my chance. I just got to go. Obviously, there was that period where nobody could leave, but I took the chance and I just left college.
There's so many questions I want to ask. I'm gonna try and be.
Go right ahead.
Ask anything. I'm gonna try and be organized in my thoughts, which is a big struggle for me and my ADHD brain.
I'm the same way. I can talk for days. Like I'm very shy at first, but once you like get to know me and kind of have a conversation, like I can talk about anything. I'm an open book.
So during COVID, when it first hit, everything shut down. They were putting boards up over basketball hoops at the park and nailing them down so people couldn't even go play ball there. I know once things opened up, that's when I got back into videography, because I had a very long and circuitous route to working as a multimedia journalist after my baseball career came to an end, and went back to graduate school and multimedia journalism for a while and being a videographer, and then got into teaching and wound up during COVID getting back into video production and videography. But for you, that you were in it and you'd started it before COVID, is my understanding. You first started really getting into videography. And then everything shuts down for a while. There's no AAU tournaments. There's no high school sports. And then when it first opens back up, nobody's allowed to be at them. What did you do to keep honing and perfecting your craft when there was no sports to film when it first hit? What did you do during that period to stay getting better? Because I know it's like you always have to keep improving and just staying ready. But what did you do when there was no sports and there was no access to sports early on during COVID?
So luckily before COVID, like I said, I would come back to my high school and film like a bunch of games, like even like towns near them. I would come film. So I had a bunch of footage just like there. And so during COVID, I would just mess around, color grade, just make little edits here and there. That's pretty much how I stayed kind of active during COVID. But once COVID ended, even during COVID, like I would reach out to people, be like, hey, do you want to go film a video? Hey, do you want to go do this? I would constantly send people messages, just trying to get work somewhere, and then eventually, I think this was a while back ago, I reached out to a lacrosse tournament. I was like, hey, could I come film this lacrosse tournament? I think it was in like New Hampshire or somewhere, and I didn't know how I was going to get to New Hampshire. I didn't have a car back by then, but I just knew I wanted to go film, and I just constantly just messaged people. I just reached out, and I just wanted to work. I wanted to film. Even if I didn't get paid, I just wanted to film. That's all I was obsessed with, just learning more about my camera and just creating,
When did you first start charging? And I think that's a struggle for a lot of videographers is, early on, you want to get clips out there, and you can't really start charging before people know your worth. But if you set that bar too low, or you do too much for other people for free, people are going to start just, there's a lot of people that are going to take advantage. There's a lot of people out there that the world connected to sports videography, like the AAU world, the whatever, there's a lot of unscrupulous people, hey, come do it for exposure, come do it for whatever. And you need to get a certain amount of exposure. We talked about this with Bobby Media, but like, how long into your career did you start charging, and how did you know how to start running a business out of it, and how to start setting your worth?
Right.
Because you're great with us here. You know your worth and you said it. But how did you get to that point?
So along the journey, I met a friend named Luke. His name is LSG Visuals on Instagram. Amazing dude. I want to give a huge shout out to him, because without him, I wouldn't be at Tufts. I wouldn't be at Yale. Great guy. He's also really good on the business side. He knows everything. He was the one that told me to get LLC, everything. And before I met him, I was on the waters about pricing everything. I honestly didn't. At the time, I didn't really care about the money, because I was also young. At the time, like, my parents provided a lot of the things for me, so I was really young. But when I met him, he started teaching me, like, know your worth, experiment with the pricing here a little bit there. And then eventually I stuck with a price, and I got this mentality where if people don't want to pay it, that's okay. There's going to be someone that's going to pay your rate, and there's going to be someone that is going to hire you because of your work. They see your work and they know it's good, and so they pay for it, and if they don't want to pay the rate, then it's okay. It's not the end of the world. You just keep reaching out, keep throwing yourself out there, keep offering stuff, and eventually someone's going to pay it. I used to get caught up on people like not paying. I used to get like come on, man, like it's just another $100, you know what I mean? But like at the end of the day, I kind of realized that there is going to be someone out there who's going to pay what you're worth. There are people who are going to like your work and are going to be like, hey, this is worth it. Let's get them again. let's pay for it, and that's kind of how I did it. I just experimented. I stuck with a price, and if people don't like the price, just move on. They aren't meant to be.
Bobby, how did you know what you were going to start charging when you were starting to work? I know that you were on the other end where you, as a pro, you got used to paying or a percentage of your contract or anything for that sort of training, but how did you know? And now you work with a different sort of client base with a lot of high school kids as opposed to when you first were in it. You were working with pros.
Mm-hmm.
For you, how did you know where to start setting your price point at?
So I was fortunate enough to have a resume, from playing. I didn't know about the rest of the business, but I did have Wayne Albert.
Yeah.
And because I was paying him a good portion of what I considered a good portion of my salary, I said, well, wait a minute. If I'm willing to do this for this type of quality, then others should be willing to do the same for me when I entered the business. So I think that was, I just had a great example in front of me. And it was either going to work or it wasn't, but I couldn't take less than what I figured I was worth, after I had just had so much experience with it. It's a little bit different today in the fact that, I started with Wayne because of the impact that he made on me personally, and now I get to do the same with the kids that I deal with. So the impact is personal with the kids and with the parents. And if parents want that, then I do my best to provide it. It's not a business transaction. So
it seems like both you guys had sort of mentors in your respective fields. Like, how important was it having someone who was trustworthy, like showing you kind of the way? Bobby, with Wayne, you were also talking about in your career that someone you really credited a lot with. Like how big was that, having someone that you could trust who kind of showed you the ropes?
I mean, it's huge. I think at the time when I met him, I wanted to work with Division I schools. I wanted to work with top colleges. I think at the time I wanted to work with Harvard women's lacrosse. I wanted to film their entire season. I had a friend who did the men's lacrosse, and he was like, yeah, the women's want content. I'll try to put you in with that. And then Luke reached out to me, and he was like, hey, I'm doing content for the men's lacrosse team. The women's team want content as well. They're not Division I, but they're top 5 in the country every year. Do you want to come film for them? And, he took a chance on me, and that's a chance that, I thank him every day for, because I was just a kid with a dream of filming top collegiate schools, and, he took a chance on that. And if I called him up today, asked him a question, he'd answer. He's a great guy, and I got to give a huge shout out to Luke, because without him, a lot of my career wouldn't be happening.
Yeah, I mean, people, they don't deal with me today because they like me. They deal with me because they trust me. It's that Stephen Covey book, The Speed of Trust. So we're together because we trust each other. Families argue, but in the end, if you trust each other, you form a bond that normally can't be broken.
What, for you, was it? You're still young, but like when you first started out, like I think one of the stumbling blocks I see a lot of young videographers, and I certainly had it at times for myself, but I've seen it with others, is being self-starters, and when you don't have a teacher or a coach or someone saying you need to be here this time, this day, to put this work in, to be out there on the field, be out there on the court, or to be getting a good grade in my class. When you get out on your own, I feel like a lot of kids struggle with that. Everybody wants to go to the event and film it. But putting together the final product, sitting down, locking yourself away, edits take a while. And it's a lot of work. And it's a lot of fine details. And if you're working for yourself and you don't have someone over your shoulder saying, like, when is it done, like, do this, how hard for you was it to just stay on top of your work and not let it not just keep putting it off. I think that's something that a lot of young kids struggle with that are getting into the videography field, is like the idea of the concept of a deadline, the concept of I filmed this game this week. Okay, maybe I won't get this edit done if they play on a Tuesday by the Thursday game, but if I don't get this edit done in the next week to two, it's kind of old news, and people aren't really gonna like that churning it. And that's the other thing too, is that like to make a career out of it where you can support yourself, you always have to be on to the next project. It can't be I'm going to take forever on this edit, take weeks and weeks and weeks or months. And you also always kind of have to be thinking about the next thing. You can't bask in the glow for too long because you have to be getting work out to build your portfolio, to stay relevant, and also to keep money in your pocket. Right. Like, how hard was it to get that sort of, to stay on top of yourself and your own work?
I mean, it's hard. Even like nowadays, I still struggle to, sit down and edit. But, luckily, like when I do Tufts lacrosse, like I have a contract. Even like with you, we have that 3-day period where I need to get it done within those 3 days. Even with like Tufts, I have to get it done in like 48 hours, sometimes 24 hours. And having those deadlines and kind of having, I guess, like a person, like for me, like Luke, like I know Luke wouldn't necessarily get mad at me. He would, not really, but he would mostly be disappointed. It's mostly about disappointing that person. I think of it, it's bigger than me. It's not just about me. It's about the team. It's for the edit for the team. It's the edit for them, not me. And so I just lock in. I don't know. I sit down and I don't think about it. I think if you think about it too much, it'll stop you from doing what you actually have to do. There's this 2-second rule where you just count 1, 2, and you just do it. You don't think about it, you just do it. And I think that's what I've been doing a lot. Like I said, sometimes I still get like a little lazy here and there, and I can't get the edit done. But at the end of the day, when you have those deadlines set in, it's really important because it can push you to do that. Yeah.
It's like we're always recovering procrastinators, right?
Yeah.
I mean, for Bobby, is that a struggle? I mean, for you too, where it's you've got a family, you've got kids, you've got, I know. Look, that like that finances are a big motivator for people. That none of us have enough money to just rest on our laurels for the rest of our lives. But like, for you, Bobby, is there ever man, maybe I should just take this week off? Maybe I don't feel like getting out. It's cold, it's snowing, it's whatever. How do you? What prepared you to be doing the daily grind when it's no longer out in front of bright lights and thousands of people cheering for you?
I think my childhood prepared me for it because you don't do it for anyone else but yourself. When I'm walking around with my basketball or I'm doing my push-ups or, whatever, it wasn't for any bright lights. It was for me to figure out how good I could be. So I think, what the difficult part is when, you start getting paid for it and you overestimate the importance of it and you underestimate, what it took for you to get there. It's, I deserve this. And I think I had to constantly remind myself that, I love this. It's not that I deserve it. There are plenty of people out there deserving. But as long as I give my best, I can figure out where I'm going to get to. And, that's about it. It was never for anyone else. The kids that I deal with today, I do it because I love to do it. I love to be that difference maker. It's not for them. Right? There's no altruistic vision in this. It's that I just believe that I'm supposed to do it. It's what I love to do. So, but there are days when I say, man, I'm tired of this shit. What is this kid thinking? But again, it's when you're tasked with responsibility, something that you love to do, it becomes your responsibility. So.
Brando, what makes a good edit to you? What are the things that you need in a video? Because it's interesting, when you film high school or like small suburban high school versus a big time high school versus college Division III versus Division I, you're dealing with different level athletes. You're dealing with different in the moment shots you can get. Like it's almost like the higher the level the athlete, the less slow-mo you kind of have to use. You can almost shoot at 60 frames per second. Like if you're shooting the NBA, you don't always need to shoot at 120 because they do such crazy stuff and they change pace on their own, so they almost give you that change of pace with just their natural athletic ability. You don't really have that when you're shooting Division IV high school, suburban school. But like there are certain things that, you know, that people use, and your videos to me, they're just so crisp and they're just so clean, and there's like you don't use crazy transitions. I don't think I've ever seen you use a film burn or anything in your stuff. I still use those for transitions. They were bigger a couple of years ago, but I still kind of like the look and stuff. If you're like, how am I going to change from this to the next thing? Like, oh, I'll put a little overlay or something. But like, to you, what are the things that you are always looking to include in your videos that make a good sports edit?
So obviously, the number one thing is for me is like I just want to keep it clean and simple. I think the color grading is very important. You know, like I said, I want to keep it clean. I want to keep it simple. You know, doing too much can kind of distract the viewer. You know, I've always tell myself that story is the number one thing. You know, even though like in a lot of the edits that I've done, maybe there wasn't a huge story aspect to it, but you know, story is like the number one thing. You know, as if you can provoke an emotion in the viewer, you know, you've already won their view. You know, when I do editing, there's three things I just want to make sure I get correctly: the color grade. I make sure my sound is good. Sometimes I do a little bit of sound design, not really, but sound design is very important because what's the second thing you do when you watch a video? You listen. You know, so sound design is very important, but color grade, you know, if you can really get the colors perfectly, not perfect, but to almost perfect, then, you know, that's really well. For the sports stuff that I do is I make sure, you know, color, sound design, you know, I try to tell a story in my edits, not really for like the Instagram stuff because that's just like fun editing, but like for like the Tufts lacrosse, I try to tell a story, I try to, you know, provoke an emotion, you know. So
now, do you do that with the music that you choose for your videos also? Do you spend a lot of time like listening to the lyrics of something that?
So for the Tufts season, I try to do like the music is kind of like the hardest part when editing. It really is the hardest part just because sometimes the music can really make the edit too. You know, if you can find the right song to it, you know, you have, you know. There was this, I don't know if you guys saw it, but the BU edit with the guy who says, "Hi, Mom." Like,
yeah, that one's all. I want to try and get Otto on the show. That kid, and like, to me, that edit, the fact that it's blown up so much, I still can't. I mean, the algorithm's crazy. Like I said, we had a couple of edits here that were not our best shots. They were great plays, but that got hundreds of thousands of views, and you know we're usually tens of thousands of views on stuff for a small public access station, you know. But like, it was a short edit. It wasn't the craziest footage I've ever seen. You know, it was like kind of a basic dunk, sort of a kind of second dunk with contact, a couple of shots of the kid before game, like "Hi, Mom." But I think the song is what made it blow up so much.
Like that's why finding the song is kind of like a difficult thing because the song can really make or break it. You know, I've had songs where I just chose silly, goofy songs and they get like a lot of views, and it's like, I don't know. I think if you can find a song that fits perfectly with the edit, then you're golden too. You know, that's why like when I do like the edits for you, I try to find like a hip hop type thing for like basketball. You know, I don't know. A lot of it too is like what I vision in my head. You know, I kind of have an idea before going into the edit, what I want to create, and so I kind of try to find the music with the edit. So that's how I kind of find it too.
What do you look for in your establishing shots before? Because I've gotten, you know, establishing shots for me. Sometimes I overdo it. Like I had one that I actually was way more proud of the intro than the actual footage. I shot the girls basketball playing in Lexington not that long ago.
I thought it was good.
I was really happy with the shots around Lexington I used to establish the story. The color grading was kind of crap on it. Like the gym wasn't well lit. Yeah, I appreciate that. But like, what do you look for in your non-action shots? Because I think that's something that you really need something that's not just people dunking or cross people over or scoring goals or whatever. Like, because it's digital storytelling. Like you said, you like to tell a story. Even the Instagram shorts, you want to tell a story.
Right.
What are the things that you look for on your non-action shots, your establishing shots? What are you trying to get in those?
A lot of it's I mostly just try to get the players like warming up. I do stuff like that. I've also noticed that I try to get stuff that aren't the players, like the hoop, throwing baskets in the hoop. I think in one of the videos I did for you, I did the Wilmington sign in the beginning. Stuff that aren't the player, but also kind of shows you what the edit is. That kind of, so like if you do like a shot clock, it's a shot clock for a basketball game, so you're at a basketball game. If you do a shot of a basketball, just the basketball itself, you're at it.
Story.
Yeah, you're kind of, it'll show you, hey, we're about to watch a basketball edit, even if it's not just the player, even if you do maybe like the crowd or I don't know, stuff that isn't the player but also helps tell the story. It can be random too. Maybe like a pair of basketball shoes on the court. I think those help as well. I'm not the greatest when it comes to the B-roll. It's crazy because when I edit, I do the action part first before the B-roll. So like when the bass drops or when the beat drops, that's where I start my edit, and I do everything, and then I do the intro shots. So it's kind of like weird, but like I feel like once I get like the main, I think of it as kind of like a burger. Once I get the main patty done, like then I do the mayo, the buns, everything else. Like that's how I kind of do it. It's a little weird, but I do all that first, and then I do the intro shots. But
what are your dreams, your career goals at this point? You're a very young guy. You're very early, but like what's the hope? What's the next 5, 10 years? What are you hoping?
This is something I've been thinking about recently.
College?
I don't know. maybe. I don't know. This is something I've been kind of pondering recently, and I feel like every day is going by so fast. I feel like I just turned 23 like yesterday, even though it was like 4 or 5 months ago in September. It's every day is going by so fast. So it's something I've been pondering. Maybe I'd love to do like motivational speaking. I'd love to really motivate people in my position, regardless if they're a burn survivor or not. I'd love to, push people to be able to do what they want to do in their life. I've also been into running a lot recently, so maybe I want to do a marathon, raise some money for the hospital that helped me out so much. That's something I think I would love to do in the next 2 years or so.
For Shriners.
Yeah. I think that would be a huge thing. I don't know. I'm just living life. I just wake up every day with a smile, and I'm just happy to get another day. I should be thinking about what I want to do in 5, 10 years, but I just take every day by day, and I'm just thankful to be here.
I mean, you're so young, man. If you can be happy every day and enjoy the day, that's a big accomplishment.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna be 40 in May, which to me is crazy. And now I'm in that point of like, I don't want to let life pass me by. I don't want to miss out on these moments. But like, if you're 23 and you can and you're working the way that you are, man, that's more than a lot of 23-year-olds are doing.
Mm-hmm.
If you're able to just get the most out of every day, that's something.
Yeah.
Running a marathon, that's pretty cool. So Bobby and I interviewed someone last year, a guy named Daniel Buckaloo, who has MS and was running his second Boston Marathon. He's going to be running his third this year. And that was, to him, it was a big thing for him, was like, I want to run a marathon. For him, it was more when he was at the depths of his diagnosis, and he's had some really miraculous responses to treatments and all that. But like, marathon's a big thing. A lot of people, if you can, that'd be awesome to see, man.
Yeah.
You have to get someone else there to go film you and do
Yeah,
video of
probably.
you.
I mean, I don't know. I've just started going into it maybe like September. I started running around August maybe. I've been trying to aim for like twice a week. I mean, when it was really nice out, I ran like 3 times a week. It's fun. It's not easy, you know, running 4 miles a day, 5 miles a day, but it's something that when I finish and when I get done, I know I did it, you know, and I think that's the best feeling, you know, doing something hard, but when you do it, you're like, I just did that, you know, and I think that's an amazing feeling, and that's why I love running now, because when I finish 4 or 5 miles, I just ran 4 or 5 miles.
Right.
You know, 2 years ago, if you asked me that, I'd be like, you're crazy. Like, I would never run. But, like, now when I do it, I'm like, I just did that, you know? Now, what happens if I did 10 miles, you know? Imagine how much, like instant dopamine you'd get being able to say, like, I just did that.
Yeah,
you know,
I don't
like
want that much dope. No, thank you. Too much running.
Yeah,
but it's and like I think the reason why I kind of got into running is just because when I left college, I kind of gained a lot of weight because in high school I was really fit. Like I was really skinny. I played a lot of soccer, like almost every day, and so I was really skinny. But when I went into college, like I didn't really work out as much. I was kind of eating a lot, and you know. The past year or so, I was like, dang, like, I really just want to get that skinny body back. You know, I'm not so worried about having a 6-pack. I just want to be able to, like, feel good in my body, and I want to be able to just be comfortable, you know? And if I have to run, like, I'll run. Like, it's part of the process, and, you know? But I love running now. I think it's awesome.
That's awesome. Working out is an eternal struggle for me at this point, and it used to be life for me. I used to live in the gym. I was the same weight I was, but I was carried it. I was really pretty ripped. And now it's I appreciate that. It's carrying it not as well as I used to, but it's hard. Like it's like, oh, I got to pick up the kids. I got to make dinner. I got to like finding that time. But like, it is such a rewarding feeling when I am able to get to the gym, or I was doing walks. I would love to be able to run. I've had so many knee and back surgeries that running is not so much in the cards for me at this point. But like I was doing a lot of long walks. Like I go to like Walden Pond in Concord, which is pretty famous. It's where like Thoreau lived for a couple of years, and it's nice. And doing some other walks in some different areas, and that was a rewarding feeling. And going to the gym and lifting weights always feels great, but it's hard to find that time. So it's like, if you can do it, man, that'd be amazing.
Yeah,
Bobby, what do you do to stay? Because you're older than me. We don't need to get into how, but like you still look like you could go out there and drop 20 in a pro league. Like but what do you do to work out at your age at this point?
Well, I'm in the gym every day, so I can't very much walk around my gym and not do anything. So I'm fortunate. I'm forced to do it because the kids that I deal with need teaching, and if I can't demonstrate it, then I don't need to be teaching them. You know, that's the way I feel about it. So I do my best to stay in the gym. Plus, my wife's in unbelievable shape, and it pisses me off because I'm not. And I don't want my kids to embarrass me, so this is why I stay in shape.
Brando, you know, what advice would you give to young kids? You see young kids everywhere. I mean, there's young kids here in Wilmington. I really want to get them here in the studio more. You know, there are kids that you see that are at games with their own cameras and stuff, but like I'd like to get them in here more to be able to teach them. But what advice would you give to young kids that are just starting out? They're like, I want to learn. You know, a kid messaged me the other day, like, I want to learn how to make mixtapes. I want to learn how to make highlight videos. What advice would you give to kids who are just starting out on how to go down the same path that you've gone down?
You gotta have a lot of drive, and you gotta want it. I think that's ultimately like the best advices I can give, because when I first started out, it's all I could think about, just filming, editing, learning. Like that's all I thought about. And you know, ultimately that obsession led me to where I am today. You know, I hope a lot of these kids make it. You know, I hope a lot of them do. And, you know, like I said, if you really want it and you believe in yourself, you can definitely do it. But, you know, as you grow older, and this is something that I kind of realized, you start to get a lot of responsibilities. You know, you start to have to get things done. You know, you're going to have to start to charge because you have a bill coming up that you got to pay. You know, when I was in high school, obviously I didn't have any of those responsibilities, so I got to kind of just shoot for fun or go film for whatever, you know. But if you really do want to make it as a career, you know, you're going to have to obsess over what you do. You know, you're going to have to learn every day. You're going to have to research everything about it, you know. Like I said, as you grow older, you know, you just start to get more responsibilities. You know, right now I pay like my own insurance, my health insurance, my car insurance. Like I pay my own phone bill. Like I pay for everything, you know, and so I have to make this work because I have nothing else, you know. So it's kind of just like there's a saying like you burn the boats. Is that the saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so I kind of at my point in my career, like I had nothing else. I burned the boats. There was nothing else. So I had to make it work, you know. Even if I had to film 20 games for $100 a game, you know, I would do it because I had to make it work, you know. And so you just got to obsess with it, and you got to just have nothing else, you know. And everybody's situation is different, you know. I like I said, I was in an environment that I made this work. You know, some people's environments might be different, and some people might be going through different things than others. And so you just have to figure out a way around it to make it work, you know.
You know, those are what you just said was what many people who are successful relay when they're on podcasts or whatever. You know, I heard Roseanne Barr one day. She was being interviewed, and they asked her, you know, the question, you know, why are you successful? And she said, you know, everybody always told me that I needed something to fall back on, but I figured if I had something to fall back on, I'd never make it.
Yep.
So she gave it her everything, you know, because she loved it.
Exactly.
She wanted to be successful.
And I had nothing else. Once I left college, I had nothing else. You know, before I left college, my mom told me, like, you have this certain amount of money in the bank, whether you want to go get a car with it or we use it on your college.
Right.
And I was like, why not? You know, I mean, everything happens for a reason.
Yes.
But, you know, I went to college and I had nothing else. You know, I had to make it work. You know, I had no school. I didn't want to work a job. I only worked one job ever in my life, and that was Amazon. I worked at Amazon Fresh, I think. And, like, I was putting, like, food in, like, bags, sending it out to people. And I was like, how do people do this? You know? And I mean, no hate to them.
Right.
You know, people got to do what they got to do. But it just, I couldn't do it. You know, I just had to make this work whatever way possible, you know?
Well, Brando, your story is one of the absolute most inspiring out there, and I almost feel like it's like we need to have you come back on again in 6 months, just 'cause there's so much more that we haven't even gotten into of the journey and all that. But like, it's been really an absolute pleasure and honor working with you. You push everyone here to be better. The community loves you. Like you're just an incredible videographer, and we're really thankful that you joined us on the show today.
Of course.
Yes, thank you for coming in.
Of course, thank you guys, and thanks for the opportunity for having me here. Wilmington's an amazing community. Only been here for a couple of months and only been at a few games, but the community is just amazing. Everybody knows everybody, and when you have that team behind your back, like that's the best feeling ever. And thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.